Hello and welcome to Tools in the Shed, a podcast powered by CarsGuide. We are ready to rip into the car stuff that's caught our eye this week. I'm James. No, I'm not James Cleary at all. He's Richard. I'm Richard. Our usual host, James Cleary, isn't here.
Yes.
Where is he?
I can't tell you too much. It's a special forces thing here.
Oh. Black Ops.
Yeah, he gets flown into places, regime changes, training rebels, and then comes back to work.
Well,
Just the usual JC thing.
yeah.
That's it.
You know that's why he shaves his head.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
So he can put on
He's very
different
sleek.
wigs.
Different
He's very
disguises, different
aerodynamic.
Oh,
disguises.
okay, yeah.
He's
like a bullet.
Oh.
He's but in human
Very
form.
fast.
He's fast, yes.
Anyway, look, he'll be back next week if all goes to plan there. Now, talking of special forces, with me is Marcus Craft
Hello.
and Matthew Campbell.
G'day.
And this week we are looking into reports that Ford is going to be bringing out a Ford Focus ute-based car.
Can you believe it?
What
Can
the
you
heck?
believe
We're
it?
going to be looking into that story, a very reportable news source too on that one. We're going to be talking about cars that have occupied our CarsGuide garage this week.
We've had a couple of, big uns in the shed.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we're going to catch up with the man who wants to get to Mars more than anything else in the world in this week's MuskWatch. But first, a bit of feedback. And how this works is we go through the comments that we've received on our YouTube version of this podcast.
Yeah.
We're getting more and more each week. So if you want to be heard, we'll read out your comment. Keep it clean or slightly clean.
Try to. Try to.
The very first one comes from NIA Toolkit. He just begins with the timestamp, 28:34. That's the point in the video last week.
Okay.
Now, if I recall, we spoke about Ford saying that their next Ranger Raptor is going to be even better.
Mm-hmm.
He's referring to the comments that we made, however, on Everest, and I was talking about how it's got a 10-speed auto, and I felt that it was running away from me down hills with a car that I was towing on the back. He's just said Everest needs tow haul mode.
Yeah.
Now, we looked into this. I mean, the Australian version doesn't have it.
Doesn't appear to have it, no.
No, I've never been aware of it.
It is a
Never
pretty common button to press in
Absolutely,
the
yeah.
American style vehicles.
in the F trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They've got on their, I think it's their washer stalk, near the steering wheel, they've got a tow haul mode button that they can press on the end of that.
In the F-150. And I think the Ram's got a button down the bottom in the center console.
There's an equivalent of it, in a couple of those big sort of US trucks.
And it just adjusts everything to make it more comfortable to tow with, right? The braking response,
engine
the
response,
transmission,
throttle control,
everything.
all that sort of thing.
Steering as well, I think.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
ESC too, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the NIA toolkit, you are absolutely right.
Maybe in the next generation Everest.
Oh, well, that's actually...
Probably on the cards, I reckon.
That is to do with our next comment here from Damien. He says, any clues on the release date of the new Ranger and new Raptor, end of 2021, he asks?
Matt.
Yeah, I would think end of 2021 might be about the right time. We know that it's in development right now, so that one's the co-development between Ford and Volkswagen, the next generation Amarok and Ranger, and therefore we assume a next generation Everest and maybe a rugged off-roader for Volkswagen as well. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would think late 21 is probably likely. There's a lot of stuff happening with Ford at the moment with the Broncos, the baby Bronco and the big Bronco.
Yeah.
So it's probably a little while away.
I like to think they're always a little bit further ahead than what they give us an indication of. Like, they say, it's early development.
Yeah.
I think they're always a little bit further ahead. But I think with, sort of indirect coronavirus impacts, everything will be pushed back a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yep, definitely.
I mean, having spoken to a few people who work behind the scenes at Ford, they're sworn to secrecy, but all they can say with big grins on their faces is, oh my God, I've seen some things. And it's just like, oh, please tell us. Please tell us.
We can't wait.
No, we can't wait. Stephen Hillard is the next with a comment, and he says, hi, Tools.
Hi.
Hi, Stephen.
Hello.
I'm looking forward on your testing of the new MGHS, as it has a 7-year warranty and is $33,990 drive away. It's the boot space I need for a wheelchair. Now, Tom Tom White, our journalist, reviewed that car this week.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
He last week I think it was, but yeah, he did he went to the local launch of that car, came away roundly pretty impressed with it. So it's one of those ones we're seeing the rise and rise of MG as a brand, and not surprisingly, their vehicles are improving as they go. So not a bad option by the sounds of things, Stephen. So check it out.
Absolutely. They look good too, I reckon. Next question or next comment is from David Burt. He says, what's with the random looking garden hose clamps on that prominent looking pipework on the bi-turbo Everest Ranger donk?
Yeah,
Surely
pretty
there's a
harsh.
tidier and more convincing solution.
There probably is.
Yeah.
But it gets the job done.
It does.
That's right. I mean, if it was a Ferrari, it would look better, but Ford being pretty, does what it says on the tin.
Well, yeah.
Doesn't need
It's
to
a
be fancy.
profit-focused company, and business cost money.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
We've
you
been
know.
in the engine bay of a couple of Everests recently, and it's not like it jumps out and screams at you. Oh, that's untidy. I mean, I think is it David Burt?
David Burt, yep.
I think he's being a little bit harsh, but fair call.
He'd be the type of guy that'd walk around looking at the pipes under the sink and going, look at that.
Oh yeah, that's
that's
no
a
good.
mess.
Untidy
Yeah.
as that mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That plumber's got some nerve. Yeah, fair enough.
Sticking to more Ford products, we've got Neza. Neza says, forget the 150 Raptor or the Hummer boys. A real dinosaur is coming back, and its feared name is the DeLorean.
Oh God.
You've heard some
There's-
rumours about
there's
that.
some
haven't you?
rumor about DeLorean rebooting. I don't.
I can
Who
hear
cares?
our producer laughing
Yeah.
over there in the corner, and it's
It'll
I thought
probably. I mean,
He's
it'll
having a good old chuckle.
no doubt launch as an electric car,
Yeah.
and it'll be futuristic and fantastic, but not
Yeah.
affordable or realistic. So
Yeah.
anyway, good on you, DeLorean.
Good on him, yeah.
It's amazing what nostalgia can do, though.
Welcome to the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
nostalgia's a powerful
the
thing.
present.
Absolutely.
When in the wrong hands.
John Schroeder is next, and he says, yes!
Oh.
With lots of S's.
Sorry.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Yes.
F-150, bring it on. No messing about.
Loves the
Just
F-trucks.
do it.
Yeah.
That
Fair
looks
enough.
likely to happen. Word on the ground, word on the streets outside is that
It'll happen.
it's happening.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
happen.
This country needs a more big old F trucks around.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Then we have Hammer Rocks.
Oh,
Good old
the
Hammer.
Oh, Hammer.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
been
Hammer.
bashing the
Good
keyboard.
on you, mate.
Look, this is in reference to a comment we made about the military aircraft, the F-35 Lightning II.
Oh, me thinking that it was $40 million.
Yeah, exactly. So he says, forget $45 million each, try $120 million each.
Whoops.
He also adds, if we switch to drones only, all our enemies need to defeat us is a hacker using a Mac and a virus that can be uploaded to a satellite that transmits the commands from HQ to the drone units. I reckon Hammer Rocks he's special ops as well.
Maybe he's military.
I reckon
Remember
he is.
how we've always assumed that he was in the automotive industry? I think, dead set, I think he's
Maybe
in
he's
the
transitioned.
military. Yeah.
Maybe he works for Hummer.
Maybe.
He would.
Maybe.
Well, he says
Maybe he's also special ops.
Well,
Special
well,
forces.
this might give it away. He says the aliens from Independence Day would know what I'm talking about. He says, as for my Bathurst Rallycross 1000 race comment, I was referring to use
Used
utes,
utes, okay.
just like the ones that we use for support races for supercars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TGV. Now, TGV's comment is it's like a
Oh,
thesis.
Is that the
It's-
fast train in France?
It is.
I've
yeah.
caught it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bonjour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bonjour.
Hello,
Goes
bonjour.
really fast.
Bonjour.
Oui, oui.
Okay, I'm not going to read out the entire comment, but thank you so much, TGV. He's
It's-
talking about XL2 Wild Track and the Ranger Raptor, but basically what he's saying is that the
Suspension
next-gen Ranger should feature independent rear suspension.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts, Matt? You think it's going there eventually? Or?
My thoughts are we're probably going to see multi-link rear suspension on the majority of the next generation utes, as well as four-wheel disc brakes to bring them into the 2020s or the 2000s or the 1980s in some cases. But yeah, it's time for the ute world to probably move past the whole it's got to have a ton of payload because a lot of the ones
them
now
don't anyway. No,
so
they don't, yeah.
the hardcore ones with the leaf springs will probably still exist. I reckon, like SsangYong does with its range, there'll be a choice of a coil spring or a leaf spring.
Yeah. I think you go comfort or work suitability.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and I think it makes perfect sense for the big name manufacturers to follow that. Although it does add a little bit of complexity to the lineup and to manufacturing, it's not too much. It's manageable. The leaf spring setup is still going to be more affordable, and it's tried and tested. I mean, we've been doing it since horse and cart, so it's a goer.
It's nature, yeah, absolutely.
So.
TGV, good call though, mate.
Yep.
Very good call. Thank you, TGV. Dylan Green, Ford Australia should import F-trucks in left-hand drive and convert them to right-hand drive in Australia like GM are doing with the Chevy Camaro.
Yeah. Well, they're not doing it with the Camaro anymore because they've just axed it. They're still doing it with the 1500. And the Ram 1500 particularly, and that's not through Ram's local operations. There's a convoluted process that happens before you get one, and you can get an F-150 if you really want one. You can get it brought over and transferred over to right-hand drive. But
there's always been a pretty active grey market anyway there, so grey imports on the F-trucks. So
I think you won't have to wait long because they're going to be building these F-trucks in right-hand drive in Michigan and
at some point, potentially, maybe, hopefully.
Okay. Cool.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Now another loyalist, Wax 333. He says, I think Subaru, that's because he's a New Zealander. Subaru should purchase some transmissions from Toyota and implement them into their vehicles. It would be choice as bros. We'd all have a shrimp on the barbie, and then we'd be contemplating buying the Levorg or the Skoda Octavia RS Estate. Very worried about the CVT in the Levorg and worried about the German reliability. Now, De Cook, right, or De Coolke, as I like to call him,
yes.
says he's replied to Wax 333. So our commenters are now just talking amongst themselves.
Yeah, but that's good
Fantastic.
though. Yeah, some considered exchanges there. So
De Cook says, I have not driven Toyota nor Subaru's CVT, or those cars with a CVT, but since they have some capital bonds, they could also share hybrid powertrains. Subaru to use Toyotas instead of developing their own mild hybrid system. Their only joint venture was the GT86. That's true.
Yep.
Thank you
for now.
Cook. For now, that's right. Reco. Greetings, gents. I was wondering...
Formal.
Yeah, very formal. Very formal. I was wondering if you could elaborate on your preference for PHEVs, so that's plug-in electric hybrids, over regular hybrids. I understand it. Hybrids were designed to maximise every drop of fuel burnt. What do we reckon, guys? I reckon a plug-in is much better than a hybrid which just generates its energy through braking.
Yep, and I'm the same. I do think that there is still a bit of a problem with the plug-in hybrid in people's minds. It's that fact that what if you, like me, live in the inner city, you don't necessarily park in the same spot every day. You might not have access to a plug in that spot. You need more street-based infrastructure to make electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles more usable. But having said that, in previous places where I've lived with a plug-in hybrid for months at a time, and it's worked really well because you get that 50 Ks, 60 Ks of EV range, and then you're just using a bit of fuel to get the rest of it, whatever you need to do. Most people are doing less than that anyway. I mean,
absolutely.
I could run electric pretty easily for a week, just one charge. So, and I think that they are... plug-in hybrids, I think maybe the point is when they get to a point where plug-in hybrid isn't what it's called, it's still a rechargeable hybrid, but you park over the top of an inductive charger or something like that. That'll be the point when people go, yeah, that'll work. And all the roads need to be inductive, so that'll be fun road work in Sydney for
that will be
50 years.
Well, it won't be any
years,
different, really. We're used to it. But those pads, similar to the wireless charging units that they have in cars or just on your desk that you plug into your computer, they would be the solution.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
because I mean, if you get home and it's been raining, or you've got the kids in the car, or you've got the shopping, the last thing you want to think about is having to plug in the car as well. So
although we've been trained well with our phones. You know, we've got that.
You do that every night.
Got our heads around it. Plug it in before we go to bed. in the morning, it's charged. I don't think it'll be too different with a car.
I've got an app on my phone that listens to me sleep.
Oh, really?
I don't know about
That's a
that.
little bit creepy.
It is
bit
creepy.
creepy.
They're tracking your data, everything. They know everything about you.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, can I ask this? I know we're doing the podcast,
They
but
know my dreams.
I wanted to get that app too.
Yeah.
Right? And it works on your... Pritchard's just looking at me with his hands in the air, doing that emoji. Like, he's like,
What are you talking about? This isn't cars.
so with that app, it listens to you breathe.
Yeah.
But what if you sleep with somebody? How does it distinguish your breath from theirs?
It's the position of the phone. So you have to have your phone plugged
Do you
in
have to
so it's
sleep with
charging.
it under your chin?
No,
It's
Or
got to be
like-
taped to your face.
It's got to be at about face height next to your side of the bed. Sorry, I just bumped your
That's
mic.
fine. That's fine.
But yeah, it works. It
What's
records me.
but what's the goal though? Just to,
It just tells
track
you
how well you sleep.
Yeah, it
sort of.
tells you the quality of your sleep,
Okay,
and it
yeah.
sort of gives you an idea of how your perfect sleep pattern is.
Okay,
For
all
me,
Yeah.
8 hours is great.
Yeah.
6 hours, not
Not
so
so
much.
great. Yeah.
So anyway, we've gone off
Well,
topic.
there you go. Look, talking of going off topic,
Back
we're
on
onto
topic.
a new topic now. That is the feedback from last week. Thank you very much.
Thank
If
you.
you want your
Thanks,
feedback
everyone.
to be read out, leave
Good
a comment in the YouTube comments below if you're watching on YouTube now. Now, our big story of the week. We wrote a story on this for everybody to read at carsguide.com.au. Now, the story is that Ford are going to be releasing a Ford Focus-based ute. Now, this will be a baby Ranger. It kind of makes sense because the baby Bronco is also going to be built on that same platform. What do you guys think? Look, the reports out of the US are suggesting that American dealers have been shown the ute, so they've actually taken the, either physically taken it there or they've shown videos or images. And the word is, and this is based on a story in Automotive News, which is an excellent publication. Apparently, the dealers love it.
Right.
And these are American dealers. Now, it's going to be an entry-level pickup. And it won't just be smaller than the Ranger, it'll be significantly cheaper too.
Yeah.
So in the US, I think the Ranger starts at around about $20,000. So international reports for this suggest it starts at $20,000, which is about $5,000 cheaper than the base model Ranger in the US. So it'll be quite cheap to get into.
Yep.
In terms of Australian dollars, you can probably see that starting at around $30,000. But how's that going to measure up for Australian standards? Is it going to be big enough for us? What do you guys reckon?
Good question, Crafty. I'll let you go first.
I like these sort of novelty things, and it harks back to the Brumbies and all those sort of things.
Jumbuck.
To quote our editor.
If you've never experienced a mal grunt,
Oh, jeez.
then you got to get it in your
Well,
life.
It is the most primal sound you could imagine.
I'm pretty sure everyone in the Southern Hemisphere has experienced a malgrum.
It actually
at some
registers
stage,
on
yeah.
the
It does,
Richter
yeah.
scale.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just low. Like it's below 1, but still.
I like the idea of them, and I think there's a place for them. Not so appealing for me. Sort of limited adaptability to real life. If there's more than sort of two of you, I guess. But I can certainly see the appeal, and I reckon that they do pretty well here. Everyone loves a ute, and if it's a mini ute, good luck to you. I think everyone will get into it.
Matty Campbell.
We've seen these sorts of vehicles excel in specific markets around the world. Latin America, for example.
Oh, yes.
Brazil just loves a compact single cab ute with a pickup body. Not so much cab chassis, but and a lot of them are unibody construction, which is what they're talking about this one being. So it's not a ladder on frame. It's it's a more
a car.
livable sort of ute.
Yeah.
Lifestyle ute.
Lifestyle ute. And I mean, we've heard about Hyundai working on its Tucson-based Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And that car is going to be, like, the reason they're building it is because people want it. So this whole idea of a more compact, lifestyle-based utility vehicle that you might not be able to put a ton in, or you might not be able to tow 2.5 or 3 tons even.
Yeah.
The idea is very smart, I think, because
Absolutely.
it hits the market where it needs to be hit. Because we know, you might have clicked on the thumbnail with the picture of a Ford Focus-based ute,
Yes.
which was using a Ford Focus wagon.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
Yeah.
magic, but it's probably not what it's going to look
No,
like. It's
no.
probably
Richard
going to look.
did it. That guy over there.
Yeah,
For,
He's a
for
producer.
illustrative purposes
Oh,
only.
yeah,
yes.
it's
so
probably
talented.
It's probably going to look like a baby Bronco,
Yeah.
but with a tub on the back,
Yeah.
and that's going to
Yeah.
be so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, that's
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because what in that image that we've doctored, we've just taken a Focus wagon
Yeah.
and we've put a ute on the back, a ute
Yeah.
crate on the back of it.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is that it uses that chassis, that that monocoque. So and that's the same monocoque which will be going under the baby Bronco as well.
Yep.
You can use it for a lot of things. So yeah, it will look like a tough little Ranger Raptor or something like that. I
Yeah,
think.
That'll be
Yeah.
nice and comfortable to drive and to live with.
Very comfortable because it'll have a car chassis.
Yeah,
and I
it'd
think
be
look,
nice around town. And
Yeah, I think Ford at the moment, we contacted Ford and they weren't able to tell us anything over the email. I'll have a conversation with them later today over the telephone.
telephonic exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
when
like
they
it.
say to you, give us a call, right, there's something you think,
There might be something to it.
It could go either way because we asked them, what are your thoughts on this? Would you like it to come? Is it going to come?
Yeah.
And look, I think at this point they're weighing up whether the Australian market would want it.
Yeah.
And my answer to that is absolutely.
Go mental
We
for it.
would. Look, we're not just all about ladder frame chassis utes. I think there's definitely people out there who would want a car-based ute.
And
So,
I think they're probably looking at what's happened with the 4x2 ute market in Australia, which is just it is the cliff. The cliff was a big one, and
Yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah.
way over it. So
Yeah.
that's probably what they're looking at. But I think this is a very different type of vehicle. A 4x2 ladder frame hardcore ute is specifically made for someone who might be a plumber,
Yep.
electrician, painter, some sort of tradie that puts a ton of stuff literally a ton of stuff in the back of it
Consistently, yes.
on
yes.
a regular basis.
Yeah.
They might even have half a ton of
Yeah.
toolboxes built
Yeah.
onto the back of
Yeah.
the thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the real differentiation point between what those are and what this could be.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that we've seen there's a bit of a market around converting Suzuki Jimneys in
Oh,
particular into
Yeah.
little compact
Of
utes.
course, yeah. Yep.
And we'd love to see that too.
Oh, yes, please.
But there's definitely a market. There's definitely a buyer out there who would be interested in single cab, extra cab, dual cab, any sort of version of
Yeah.
a compact
Yeah.
pickup.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, look, I know it was probably 30 or 40 years ago now, but how popular, even back then, was the Suzuki Mighty Boy.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you could only fit like a case of beer
Yeah.
in that tiny little tray.
And that
but
was
you
at a
saw
stretch.
heaps of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
The value of those is now higher than when they were brand new. Like
Yeah.
the money is
Yeah.
going.
There was one on Shannon's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone wants one.
And it was in terrible condition.
Yeah.
Well, it was, it's pretty worn. Look, Subaru Brumby,
yeah.
another popular little
Yep.
ute.
Yep. I mean, I saw one of those the other day with 333,000 kilometres for $8,000.
No way.
It was a wreck.
You can't. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
incredible.
They're becoming increasingly collectible, and I think
Absolutely, yeah.
that's where that was that particular model was such a moment because it was a wagon turned into a little pickup truck.
Yeah.
So good, 4-wheel drive, but still comfortable and
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't call it powerful, but it was
No.
good. It was a
Yeah.
good little thing.
No.
Also not powerful. Jumbuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also not safe, Jumbuck.
No, apparently you were just in danger of your life just sitting in it.
Yeah.
Not even moving. I made that up.
Yeah, yeah.
It's probably true.
No, but
Yeah.
it did
Yeah.
score really poorly in safety tests.
Yeah. Well, that's not a surprise.
But even them, they've held their value pretty well. Saw one of
Yeah.
those for $7,000 the other day.
Yeah.
Like,
But you see a lot of examples of these things both really well looked after, and in some rural areas they've been thrashed
well used.
in the to the extent at which they were originally bought. They've been really used as a work truck and,
Yeah.
and a sort of property truck on a big not in a good state.
Well, the focus-based ute is coming. It just might not be coming here.
Yeah.
I look forward if you're listening. I know you do. Please bring it. You've been so brave with Ranger Raptor. Been
everything
so
else,
brave
yeah.
with Mustang. Be the company which is mainstream but also a bit different. I reckon that is the key to Ford's success in Australia
yeah.
recently.
Pretty brave with their pricing on the Ford Puma as well. But
Hell yeah.
That's another story.
That's another story.
Talking of other stories, let's get on to cars in our garage. Now, Matt and Crafty, you guys have shared a garage this week,
Yeah,
amongst
we have.
other things.
We have,
And
yes.
4
Kitchen,
cars
bedroom.
have been, you've been sharing
Sorry,
accommodation.
bedroom.
Yeah.
Because you've been on a comparison.
Yes, we have.
4 off-road SUVs.
Yep.
Talk
Yep.
us through that.
Well, so the idea was that we have 3 ute-based SUVs, being the updated Toyota Fortuner, the updated Mitsubishi Pajero Sport, and also the Ford Everest. We have them all in top spec trim. So there's a bit of a price gap between what you're paying for a top spec Mitsubishi versus a top spec Ford. It's about $15,000.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then we decided, well, let's throw the Prado in as well. And we didn't go for the top spec Prado because that would be 90 grand or something. So we went instead for the GXL, which we know is the one that everyone buys because it's the best spec of Prado you can get.
Yeah.
If you're watching your pennies, you don't need the KDSS smart suspension setup. You're not so focused on all the luxuries.
Yeah, all the premium
and
stuff.
It's pretty good. But our one, Crafty, had a few nice bits to it.
Ours did have the premium interior pack, I think is the correct name, and that's a couple of grand, which was nice. But, you know, the GXL sells a lot and is very popular for good reason, because that sort of straddles the line between being a good, real, live with everyday truck, wagon, and sort of having a few nice touches. But very interesting. And I mean, on and off road. So I'll let you get stuck into the on road.
Well, we won't give too much away.
No, we don't.
But
no spoilers.
The idea was to see what they were like when it came to value for money, safety, practicality, fuel use, all those things. I mean, it's the usual comparison formula, but with on-road and off-road thrown in because we need to see what they're like off-road. We didn't do a towing component in this test because some of the cars weren't fitted with the towing equipment that we needed to do that.
Yep.
And so, obviously, that you'll have to wait for Crafty's expert towing reviews, and he's got plenty of those. We've got. Yeah, it was a really interesting couple of days.
It was.
The on-road component, I think there was some of those 4 that weren't very nice, and there was a couple of those 4 which were much more livable.
Yeah.
Can you give us a hint? Which might have on the road?
No, we can't.
I could tell you that as I put in our Instagram story, the Everest is a very impressive on-road offering.
I love it.
Very impressive. It's really soft, really
Smooth.
comfortable, smooth. It's got amazing steering that helps it feel smaller than it is.
It does. Very refined. It's lovely to drive. We spent a lot of time in those things on and off road, and that's a thing you could easily just sit in the seat and for hours and hours.
Yeah, hours and hours of driving.
Hours and hours.
Not so much the Fortuner, which you found in your single car review of it,
Yes.
Crafty. It's a bit of a tedious offering.
It is, yeah.
What sort of stuck out was being a bit of a tedious point?
On road and to a degree off road, it is very harsh. It's a real firm sort of setup, suspension setup. It always feels harsh. You feel like you feel everything that you're driving through, and it's starting to feel and look a little bit old, and especially in among this sort of crew, it was just. And I mean, it's not terrible. And as a family wagon, I must say, just to have a little bit of a tickle of the off-road portion of the comparison, for things that are marketed as family-friendly wagons and that will perhaps spend the bulk of their time in and around cities and suburbia and whatever, they are very capable. All 4 of them, very capable.
My goodness.
So it's like having a racehorse, but just in the backyard.
But people would be, I think, very surprised at how capable they are.
Straight out of the box.
Straight out of the showroom. And I mean, some of them have got pretty sort of soft, road-friendly all-terrains. The Pajero Sport had a bit more of an aggressive tyre on, all-terrain tyre. But these things, I mean, people often ask us in the YouTube comments, why didn't you put aftermarket gear on suspension tyres? We take these things from the car manufacturer and we test them as you would, someone who's laid down the dosh and bought one. Very surprising off-road, and we did some decent off-roading.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well,
Very nice.
there you go. Now, I've been in, and I can qualify or back up those remarks as well about the Fortuner. I've been in a Toyota HiLux SR5, and look, I like that. I like the engine, the 2.8
You
litre.
call a pregnant pause.
Yes.
No, that was the fourth trimester.
Yeah. I think it's expecting triplets.
Yeah. Look, I things I do like. I do.
What a birth.
Yeah. Look, okay. Look, I do like its 2.8 litre turbo diesel. That is a smooth engine. The transmission's quite good. I don't particularly like the ride. I found it, especially around where I live, the streets are like a combination of concrete and bitumen. It's like a patchwork of hell.
Yeah.
So they're bad
fairly heavily
already,
used too,
but
yeah.
in the ute with nothing in the back, it was just so jolting the whole time. Very firm. I didn't get an opportunity to put anything in it, but I did drive all the way to Newcastle from Sydney. I did my fuel test on the way back, 183.7 kilometres. I ended up filling up with 21.36 litres of diesel.
Right, so that's pretty inefficient.
Yeah,
Really?
look, I posted a post on Instagram. I think it comes around about 11 odd litres per 100.
But yeah,
Which is, I wasn't trying to conserve fuel. I was just driving it normally.
Just driving normal.
and that's sort of in keeping with what we've seen on our comparison tests before.
Yeah.
11 litres per 100, where
pretty much.
where the old Hilux engine, the old 3 litre, which was a much less stressed engine and had a different transmission, was typically around 9.5 to 10.
Sipped away.
Yeah, so interesting.
Look, high luxury. It's not really that. The cabin is just really plasticky.
Yeah.
Like the dashboard, which has got that leather grain in it, but it's not leather, and it's got the plastic stitching in it.
Yeah.
It's like for $60,000, which is what they cost.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, and I just think it's a bit cheap feeling. Incredibly capable, but it fit the whole family in it, no problems at all, plenty of room. Seats are pretty comfortable too, but look, very, very firm.
And we've had them in comparisons before, like big ute comparisons, and the Hilux, while it's still very impressive and capable off road, it's always divided people with its how actually sort of harsh it is. Like it always feels like a bit of a harsh rider. So
we're talking of impressive and also talking of dividing people. It's time for MuskWatch.
That's good, mate. That's good.
Now, this week, Elon Musk has always been busy. He never leaves us with
never stops.
any loss of material.
A bit like Crafty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, he's taken a bit of a swipe at Apple this week, saying the latest iPhone update has stuffed up his emails. He was at the Satellite 2020 conference. As you know, he's just released 1 billion satellites into orbit for his Starlink internet project. He was a keynote speaker at Satellite 2020 this year, which was just this week, and he said that technology does not automatically improve. Now, those were his symbolic words, and then he sort of backed it up with, he said, look, for example, I'm an iPhone user, but I think some of their recent software updates have not been that great. Certainly feeding into that point, it broke my email system, which is quite fundamental.
Is that a direct quote? Is that what he
so
said?
he's talking about the iOS 13 update,
Okay.
which and apparently around the world there's been problems with people's email. People are getting emails and it's saying from no sender. So of course it's causing a bit of a problem. Elon, very powerful man, decided to bring that up at his keynote speech as an example of how advances in technology doesn't always improve things. Crafty, you've got a phone, don't you? You've got a Huawei.
Sorry, what?
Or how do you pronounce it?
I say Hawaii. With Android Auto. No, it's a Huawei, I believe.
Huawei.
Any problems with that?
Huawei. Whatever.
Any problems with emails on that?
Let us know if we're pronouncing that wrong. Is it Hawaii?
I think
Is it Hawaii?
Huawei?
Oh,
it's
Huawei.
Huawei. Is it?
Huawei.
I thought it was
I like
that.
the way he said it. Yeah.
Huawei.
Anyway, it's a phone.
Yep.
And it's
And they're listening to everything he says.
supposedly Chinese made. I was a regular iPhone user for many years. I can't really recall why we changed. I think it might have been a cash reason, and also a bit of an experimental thing, like have a look, see if it's any good. It's been interesting. I often get feedback from Chinese spy satellites coming through, and my Mandarin's no good. So no, it's perfectly serviceable, and as a
is the suggestion maybe Elon should consider switching over to?
That's what I reckon.
He's in pretty tight with the Chinese government and economy right now. Well, he can give me a call,
and I can give him a one-on-one lesson on how to navigate your way through the controls.
Muskie talks to Crafty.
Muscarelli.
Or should there be a Tesla phone? Would you, if you're listening now or you're watching now, would you buy a Tesla phone?
They would sell billions of those,
wouldn't they?
Would, yeah.
Oh my God!
And it would come in the colour of your car. You could match it with that, and when you plug it in, it knows everything. Your whole car. And Elon, give me a call.
Yeah,
it'd have a massive battery in it. It'd be really heavy to lift, and the build quality would be shocking. But the technology would be unreal.
It'd be fast.
Unreal. Talking of technology, he's been very active. Mr. Musk on Twitter, as usual. On Tuesday, he loves a tweet. He posted a poll post, and the question was, Tesla should have a mega rave cave under the Berlin Gigafactory. And of the recipients who got that, 90.2% said yes, and 9.8% said no, there should not be a mega rave cave under the Berlin Gigafactory.
Can I just wave the old codger flag for a second and ask you what all of those
a mega rave cave?
What's a mega rave?
You and I go back. You and I have been to a few mega rave caves.
Is that with the glow sticks and the?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And the sequin shorts, which I've got on now.
Well, they are. Whoa, jeez,
it's quite the look.
But is that just what he's talking about?
Yeah,
like
he's talking about that. He's the ultimate dad
joker.
A
big discotheque.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, this is what he says. Yeah, exactly. He's followed that up with another tweet saying, with an epic sound system and woofers the size of a car.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
He's the ultimate dad joke, isn't he?
I just like to see more of him dancing after that event.
That sums it all up, doesn't it?
If that is what happens at a mega rave cave, I think maybe he should have tweeted that video with that poll.
Can we get him dancing behind us now?
Yeah. Hey, everyone, do you want to see more of this?
Yeah.
No.
No
one does.
As a matter of fact,
taking the jacket off.
My eyes are burning.
So that is Gigafactory number 4.
Okay.
Gigafactory number 1 is in Nevada. Number 2 is in Buffalo, and number 3 is in Shanghai.
Yep.
Can I just throw to our listeners / viewers, if anyone has laid down was it $150 deposit for a Cybertruck? Because I was so close. Oh,
were you really?
My fingers hovered over that button a couple of times.
Seriously?
Just for the hell of it. Just for the
for
hell
gigs.
of it. With the that's right.
Really?
The tri-motor one though, was it the tri-motor? Was that the correct term?
Yeah.
If anyone gets in touch with us and just lets us know whether they've been updated on
we'd love to know.
Because I think that's a pretty cool concept. Like
really
pretty brave to get into it. Yeah.
Wow, I did not expect that out of a traditionalist like you, Crafty. That Gigafactory in Berlin actually has not been built yet. Ironically, they've been having trouble with environmental activists. I know you could not read about this. Actually, you can. They're arguing that it's in a forest and it's the home of protected species. And Elon has promised to rehome every single lizard and ant and whatnot.
But in another country.
Actually on the plant, working. Little helmet on the ant. Ants are good workers.
How can he promise to do that? How can you promise to make sure that all the ants are safe?
I don't know.
I'd like to know.
This is Elon. He could,
If there's anyone out there, is it etymology that does insects?
Yes.
If you do etymology, can you save the ants? Let us know.
Maybe his dance is a bit, like a Pied Piper for animals type arrangement where he does a little jig and all the ants come up.
Well, his cars definitely are a Pied Piper thing. On Wednesday, he tweeted that he is scouting locations for a Cybertruck Gigafactory. And he's said, will be Central USA. And then he followed it up with Model Y production for East Coast too. So now There are reports that he's talking to the governments in Nashville. Now, in Tennessee, you've got the Pathfinder is built there, Nissan's plant, and also Acadia. General Motors have got a plant there. So what we reckon he's doing, because when he went to Nevada, he got a $1.2 billion incentive plan by the government there. Right. So what he's probably doing is fishing for who's going to offer me a bit of an incentive here. So it could be Tennessee, could be Texas. That's another place that's on the books as well.
Yeah,
but
right.
Either way, he's going to be building more factories there. And on Thursday, he tweeted an image which had Occupy Mars written on it, but a picture of the moon, not Mars. Now, in true Elon fashion, though, he was trolling himself and his own fans because he did this in June last year, and everybody jumped on it. But in June, it was a legitimate mistake. He thought that this picture was like one of those blood moons. It was kind of a red moon. He thought it was Mars, and he's made this thing and got it wrong. Okay. They all jumped on him. So he's tweeted it again just because he's Elon.
Because he'll get X million retweets.
Of course,
But one thing he is concerned about, though, is he's concerned that he's going to die before SpaceX make it to Mars.
Okay.
So, if you remember, his plan was that he was going to build a rocket called Starship. It looks like this giant stainless steel or alfoil one you'd make out of like a inside of a Glad wrap sort of tube.
With a cardboard tube or something,
Yeah. It looks ridiculous. Like it doesn't look like a real rocket ship, right? Well, actually, it does look like a sci-fi one. So he wanted to be a cargo mission by 2022, and then sending people to Mars by 2024, and then he wants to send 1 million people to Mars by 2050. Now, there have been some setbacks in the testing of this Starship end of the rocket. One blew up just last week.
Right. Which is a bit of a setback,
It was. I watched the video of it, and it is honestly like... it was like... You know, a firecracker falls over and everyone runs for cover. It was a bit like it falls out. Everyone went, and it was incredible. Watch it if you've got time.
It looked to me like a really poorly shot bit of what was that show with the puppets? You know, like the
Thunderbirds.
Yes, it looked a bit Thunderbirds to me. Like,
Well, he's concerned. He says, and this is a quote: "If we don't improve our pace of progress, I'm definitely going to be dead before we get to Mars."
Is he then admitting that he doesn't have a cure to death? What a revelation!
Sounds like
ever suggested he did, though. Did he?
No, but he's working. He's worried about
he's
the
working
AIs,
on everything else. So
he's working on that brain stuff. So maybe his brain might live on in a robot. He'll be Android Musk.
Oh God!
Can you imagine? Oh, that'd be even scarier.
AI Musk would still be tweeting stuff out.
He wouldn't even have to type it. He'd just think it, and it's.
I think that's pretty much what he does anyway.
Picture.
I think he just thinks it and it comes straight out before doing anything else. Either way, he made these comments again at that Satellite 2020 conference.
Oh, good on him.
And he says that it's already taken us 18 years just to get ready to do the first people in orbit. We've got to improve our rate of innovation, or based on past trends, I'm definitely going to be dead before Mars.
Well,
whoa.
We've said before, some people think we're having a go at him. We're not. We're celebrating him because, without this bloke, well, he's really shaken everything up, hasn't he? Like he's...
Absolutely has. Whether you like him or not, he does divide people. He polarizes people, but I think he's sort of dragging his kicking and screaming into the future, whether we like it or not.
He's becoming more and more like a real person after what's happened on the stock market. Right?
Well, that's it. And that is where we're going now. So on Monday, the Wall Street experienced a crash unlike anything since 2008. So on March 9 in 2008, the beginning of the GFC, there was a crash. March 9, spooky, and it's Freaky Friday 13th today, right? On March 9 this week, the three indexes experienced their greatest percentage loss, since that day in 2008. Wow. Absolutely, it's huge. It's huge. So by the end of Monday, Jeff Bezos, one of the world's biggest billionaires, lost $5.6 billion. Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook, lost $4 billion. So share prices took a massive nosedive too. GM fell to $23.18 per share. Ford was trading at $5.45 at the end of the day. Fiat Chrysler fell to $8.60. Tesla dropped too. They were at $749 and they fell to $560, which is also a big. I mean, they're still very expensive shares, but
that's a kick.
that's a big
That is.
big drop. Now, this is to do with so we've got coronavirus, which is making people panic.
We don't have it.
We don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't think I do. If I do, you do.
Yeah. Sorry.
Unfortunately.
But there's also a oil war, price war on
Yes.
as well, which
Yeah.
is causing nervousness too.
Yeah.
So
But
watch this space.
The coronavirus is having a massive global effect, and the markets are feeling it hard because I think it's just going to get
Absolutely.
worse. And
I think so. Yeah.
who knows? It could be time to buy some Tesla shares in a couple of months when they're
$2.50.
Absolutely.
for $300.
Well, even now,
We'll go halves.
even now you're saving
In one.
$200 a share.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could almost afford one.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So
Okay.
interesting times.
Yes.
With that, we have reached the finish line. Thank you, Crafty.
No, thank you.
And thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
And thanks to our mixing desk dynamo, Mr. Pritchard, for getting all our voices and vision to you so effectively. Today, he's dressed in a horse suit, but just the back end, so he looks like a centaur. It's amazing.
It's very fetching.
Oh,
I like
that.
it. I like it a lot.
Look at the tail. Please pass on the word about the podcast and let us know your thoughts by searching for CarsGuide on Facebook and Instagram using the hashtag CGPodcast, or email us at comments@carsguide.com.au.
Get those comments coming.
Do it. If you're an iTunes listener, please rate and review us. We're still at 5 stars. I think
Still?
that's...
Is that good?
Thank
Is
you,
that
Mum.
out of 10?
Yep.
That's not a hint to give us a 4.
No, don't.
No,
It's
no,
not a race
please.
to the bottom.
Yeah.
Keep it at
Please.
5.
We love 5.
Please.
Thank you. And remember, you can watch us on YouTube. If all goes to plan, James Cleary will be back from his secret mission and in the hosting seat next week. Until then, goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.